So Shirley here again. This is Venus, our Saturn day, Moon approaching from out, and we were talking about CERN, and then my mother interrupted because every time I bring Mark around, my mother interrupts. One time she interrupted and she said something that was really traumatic, but it was not traumatic to me. It would be traumatic to him. And anyway, now she interrupted to tell me that Israel stopped attacking in Gaza. Somebody wants some Nobel Prize, and they might have a deal to bring the kidnapped people back. So that was a very good interruption to do with peace. As we are doing this energy transmutation thingy, so this is like really, 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 really exciting news. And I'm just going to upload a previous episode. Yeah, it's still processing. I'm still processing. So let me change the broadcast live, and divert it from all those energy readings. Look at the Genghis Khan. Trudy. um, anyway, let me see. Abu Mazen, never heard of him for a while. I saw Abu Mazen in Ramallah when I was going to One Voice, and there was a Chinoam Nini because she has to be there. So they're still besieging Gaza, so Palestinians can't come back yet. Two-state solution. You see that thing? Okay, I gotta say something. As a person that tended to that in the One Voice Israel, One Voice Palestine. Now, first of all, I didn't like the Saudi offer of the whatever, but I think Macron is going for that, and I think Abu Mazen's kind of like have to acquiesce to that. I don't think that's like permanent, but anyway, I said anyway they're gonna have to do that. It's kind of like women's rights. Anyway, they're gonna have to do that. So, okay. Some business from the trying to bring the kidnapped people. Because Hamas agreed to Israel's agreeing to stop the war and so on, then the shekel is getting stronger in the face of the euro and the dollars. This shekel, I think the shekel itself, when it crosses to heaven, it crosses to hell, it's true. Like the shekel, how should I say? I think the shekel is going to be the Saturn Neptune. I said what I said. Like, um, I don't think even Nazi Germany has been on a. I mean, how is the shekel doing? They're in a war, besieging, accused of genocide. Da 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 da. How is the shekel? Great, fantastic. How are you, suturing, relaxing? Like, I think we need to have an interview with the shekel. Shekel, how do you do that? Actually, I'm really high on endochrome. Um, Iran, 6 rebel people were executed for having connections with Israel. München. Is, are they going to Article 5? Munich was airport was nullified for a while because of a drone, unidentified drone. Lower temperatures. I need to get a shower. And do you know the funny thing that there are actually rituals done to try to keep me from keeping hygiene? Anyway, okay, they stop fighting in Gaza, moving to defense like in ceasefires. And Donald Trump wants a Nobel Prize. Let's not say that loud. No, they are, and they're cloned, and it's not a good thing. um, okay, they're preparing for releasing of the kidnapped people. Now we need to לשטח את נחלאות. Okay, we need to laser focus נחלאות so that they will actually have a place to return to. נחלאות is kind of like the Den Bosch of like, but Haredi. Brussels, bingo expandable children, you know. Okay, Netanyahu after Hamas answering, preparing to release all the hostages. After 2 years of suffering, the mother of Matan Angerst is closer from ever to hug him. Now here's the question: are they done with the Israeli war? Um, let's bring up Israel's chart. Israel natal chart. But look at how many and how much of an energy reading I had. And then I talk about Mark and my mom interrupts. Talk about attempts to kidnap and assassinate Mark through CERN, which is a Montauk project. Okay, what's happening in the sky right now? And it was so much Procyon. Look how much Procyon I was sniffing. So much Procyon, and then I was working with the oil of Procyon. It's like everything around was Procyon, Procyon, Procyon. By the way, I don't know how that connects to Mark because he's having a Jupiter return, and Jupiter is going to retrograde. But now Jupiter is 22ing, so I don't know. But there's so many Procyon, Procyon, Procyon. Now Israel has a midheaven Procyon. Nothing was perpetually accentuated in Procyon today. Nothing was crossing over Procyon, and yet. Nope, nope. What was crossing over what? Because everything is. Oh, Black Moon Lilith over Israel's Chiron, 21 degree Scorpio, which would extend to 28-degree Mars in Leo. But Mars is not aspecting that. Venus in Virgo is in the 12th house of Israel. The moon is in the 6th house, was ingressing Pisces, next to Fomalhaut. Jupiter conjoining my midheaven, so I'm broadcasting live while that happens. But I really don't know. What is the stars again? What's happening in the sky again? It's the Chiron. Oh, Chiron. Okay. Mercury is crossing the ascendant of Israel, opposing Chiron and Aries, and in the 7th house of Israel. So that's basically a peace agreement, but it's still a question about sovereignty. And Chiron Andromeda with Aries is bringing back the kidnapped people. What's up with NATO? NATO news. I'm smelling my Procyon. What is safe? Turkey must drop war threat to join SAFE. What is SAFE? There's nothing new here so much. I mean, it's how should I say that? It's not like it's been peaceful, but there's nothing new about that. It's like preparing for a war, or they're trying to subdue the Israeli front while preparing for a war. I'm trying to see that if that peace is really peace. That's what I'm trying to see. Okay. There's definitely the returning of the kidnapped people. The moon is applying to trine Mars from Fomalhaut. Is it ending the war? I don't know. I mean, transiting Venus purging, Keto, might be because she's ruling over that Mercury that is next to the ascendant of Israel. And with Keto, there is a purging of something that's to do with hidden enmity, for to do with Hamas, or but the Palestine Hamas chart. Or more to say, the Hamas chart. We actually don't have a Palestine chart independently from Hamas yet. Um, what? Oh, I understand. People are worried about me. Who kills me? What crimes now? That's why they're so sensitive. No, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you. Because I didn't understand that. Like, it's good news. What's happening? Because Trump wants a Nobel Peace, and other people are supposed to absorb the war crime litigations. No, no, no. It's okay. Thank you. I'm recording. So, okay. What I have to say on the topic is there are certain societies or circles that Trump was not accepted into. And this is also kind of including Trump by the Nobel Prize or something like that. At the same time, nobody really people are still gonna ask about Trumpstein. Mom, can you wait a sec? Trumpstein. And so, but this is the thing that there may be certain lineages that were appealing or appeasing of Trump and now are expected to absorb the residues in the face of being litigated, of being the war criminal next to that Nobel Prize winner. And they're really understanding that perhaps perhaps they have been too appeasing of Trump in a way that's not going to like and again, I'm not saying that, like, I don't know if this is true. Maybe they had to do what they did. Like, I really don't know. Um, but when it comes down to that, it's like Trump is going to get that Nobel Prize, and they're not being bailed out of something that like they have to absorb the shock about being the war criminal when Trump is getting all the glory. And even with Trump getting all the glory, people are like, okay, Trumpstein. They're still interested in, like, people are way more interested in what's going on with the cloning projects and the Trumpstein and so on. But I think Trump is expecting for somebody else to absorb that. And in any case, I think that's not going to be, like, how should I say that? In this day and age, I don't think that that Nobel Prize would be kind of a legacy. Like, okay, it's kind of like it's so much so that it's not going to hold. And it's obvious that the exposure of the Trumpstein was to bring to that, trying to get to that Nobel Prize to get the kidnapped people out and end the war, which is supposed to end up as some sort of a Trump real estate project. Now, when it comes to the Palestinian people, I don't think they're going to go for that. I think they're going to go like the Gen Z. So there's this opposition between this peace agreement, Mercury, Libra, and Israel operating like the broken clock that is correct twice a day. And that's the twice in century. Anyway, um, but the wound around sovereignty is still there, and the wound around kidnapped people is still there. Is it the peace? Peace? Well, it's too soon to say. The moon is actually well positioned to Mars, that's ruling over that. Venus, with the reception to the ruler of Ketu, Venus 18 degree. Something about the negotiation is, sextiling Black Moon Lilith that is on the Chiron of Israel. I think Israel understood that once the IDF is going to get accused in what Hamas was accused of, which has already practically happened and happening, like Israel has to come down from that tree that she climbed. Um, and Trump wants the Nobel Prize, and Hamas understands that one way or another, like with Israel besieging Gaza, they're not going to get their victory, so to speak. Um, so this is not a really, you know, a peace, but Israel can say that it won. But if Israel will harvest on that harp too much, then it will have to face the war crime litigations even further. Um, and then Trump is probably going to get his Nobel Prize because it's Trump. But I think that the figures that have been trying to appease Trump understand that they're not receiving, remnants of that legacy. And not only that, they're facing a megalithic litigation in their countries. So everybody's kind of like happy to end the war. And yet, this is something that will leave some residues. Shilumim, or compensations, is one of them. And those shilumims will not only be from Israel. And this is what the litigation is probably about. Um, and the expectation that mining minerals in Gaza will fund for that, with Uranus Sedna, can go about in weird ways. Like, I don't know what. What was the diplomacy around ending the war? I think it was the explosion of the Epstein, the Trumpstein, and the truc. But mainly Trumpstein. Um, and the connection to the real estate and the cloning. That became, and particularly with nothing that no scam that anybody did was taking the spotlight off the Trumpstein. It's like Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Okay, about the Trumpstein list, and and the only thing is with like, okay, peace in the Middle East. About it, okay, you know what, take your novel and it's like peace in the, actually nobody did that, peace in the Middle East and so on. And so um, and then the entire circle that was trying to appease Trump to get the best out of him is kind of like they're sent in with the war criminals that have to explain their respective nations why they have to pay shilling for the rest of their lives for a country that they didn't know that they were even involved with. Um, the accountant has been missing. Anyway, there was another story with children in Britain. The children not being registered to school. Anyway, now here's something. The word wrath comes here. And wrath has to do with the very thing that, here is the thing. Certain people are going to have to make certain choice whether they're going to use that wrath, that justified wrath, on those that consolidate wealth in those ways. Now, for those people that sense that wrath, a lot of them are already consolidating wealth in that way. And and the wrath is at themselves. And so and they're gonna, I said what I said, people talk, when I looked at certain charts, people say, oh, she a gold digger. Canoe. after the, after the wealth redistribution here, canoe. And this is Rhapsody, okay? During a tsunami. Um, anyway, what I'm saying is that those people that have some justified wrath because they've been left out in the cold, but they've like, they they can, they have the hand on the money to wealth redistribute. That's the power that they have been seeking all their lives, in fact. But all the energy that watch all of my previous episodes because they're relevant. Because this is exactly what happens, when everybody's trying to appease a businessman in a cult of treason, and then that businessman does business, gets a Nobel Prize, and all the people that were trying to appease him get accused of being war criminals and have to explain to their respective nations why do they have to pay shilomim for the rest of their lives for a country that we're not even supposed to be involved with in that extent, other than having like just purely diplomatic relations. And what was the extent of that involvement? And how did they become so intense? And then what happens? One country, it's like United States and Israel. Wait, we weren't talking about United. No, I wasn't talking about United States. No. There was a litigation going on, okay? And still holding tight to that procyon. Holding tight to that procyon. That procyon is nodig. And here's the big drama. United States would say, this is the Mossad. The Mossad would say, this is United States. This is the CIA. And the truth. Now Saturn is going to ingress into Aries, which means it's going to leave Pisces, as well as Neptune. Saturn ingress into Pisces, which means out of Aquarius, had to do with the 2012 Helsinki report about the Rolodex. Okay? Now that chapter is not closed yet when it comes to. So no amount of appeasing Trump and that's important to remember. Because this is a transition of wealth. And it's also transition of the torch from Centaurians to Centaurians. Mind you, the Centaurians that said that they're going to live to 100, but this WHO is boom, boom, boom. It's not enough. But the thing is, it has to get at the core of the issue. And the core of the issue is the wealth consolidation rituals. And people are lining up to be war criminals unless they address that. Vertex so close to Procyon. Let's see. What's the chart? 22. Amen, amen. 22. What's 22? The lot of fortune for the Netherlands. 1800 chart. 22. That's the political assassinations. I cannot make this up. Is connecting with the eclipses that we had. The only way to tend to that is to do wealth consolidation rituals. Change the rituals. Don't do ritual abuse. Now, for some people that might be going off the endochrome, the solutions are paramount. Change the rituals because the wealth is transitioning. And people are expected to consolidate wealth that is transitioned to them in some sort of way. The wrath, take that wrath, okay, that anger on those who require them to perpetuate those rituals of wealth consolidation. That's the way out of political assassination in this chapter. And everybody knows what it means. This means that there's a certain, going from Nepal, that the parliament went boom, then not the businesses, not the things around, the very parliament, then that exposed the next of the stuff coming to. It's like, hey, we are also overgrowth of East, come kill us. But this one, they know a particularly house of, and the O doesn't stand for orgasm yet. That needs to, so that they wouldn't be lined up to be assassinated and persecuted like Nazi war criminals. It is what it is. Sol 11, Venus 18, Jupiter 22, midheaven on the lot of fortune. Al-Qaeda, 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 Al-Qaeda. Not Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda. But the ascendant is 11. Now, for those who ask, is it really the end of the war and so on and so forth? I think Mercury ruling over Ketu, there's definitely a chapter closing here. But there is also, no, now Jupiter going over the midheaven of Israel, doing the back and forth for a year, is going to be tremendously important on a global nuclear level. And Albania is also going to be important in that regard. And Mark. That's literally Mark Rutte's Jupiter return. Which is why I say there is a place with that Jupiter return, as hopeless as it seems, as terrible as it seems, there is a place for hope. Okay, Procyon is an incredibly lucky placement. It's also the juxtaposition. You think about Procyon as being favored, but also when the one you're favored by is being, persecuted, there are also implications of that, and yet Procyon holds within it the ability to transmute that. It's still possible. And with Jupiter, it has to do with philosophy, belief, religion, and having that aligned with denucleafication. So what beliefs, philosophies, mindsets would be aligned with authentic world peace and denucleafication? And each person has their own gnosis around that. You probably guessed that the other country is Netherlands. I mean, it kind of leaked. And so it's not the time for jabs. It's not the time for jabs because the jab is also not true because both parties are now equally relevant. Um, there is also there's another figure. I don't have the chart for that figure. Um, that might be having their own moment of, you know, because that person very likely knows some stuff. Um, I don't know. It's interesting because I began this megalithic energy reading with the single people juxtaposed with the not single people, and the people standing in their truth, and the people that try to drag them into timelines that are not relevant. And I said it might be also on a mundane level. Yeah. I think that there is a figure here that knows something, but I have no chart, and that figure is going to be revealing more of what it knows. And has to do with both Israel and Netherlands. And real estate, cloning project, and the truth. Um, I don't have the Rolodex list if people are wondering, like I have no idea. Um, it's just like structurally everybody's in it. Somebody would tell me they're not in it. I'm like, how come? No pun intended. And so, but I think that somebody is going to, one of two figures, or both of them, are going to reveal and Saturn Neptune's names. Um, yeah. And I think what is work, and I think somebody has heard my Alondra. I was crying Alondra to the wind, and I think somebody has heard that calling from, took it from the wind and began to apply it in jurisdiction protection to be able to say something that's megalithically important. And it's a part of their healing and a part of people having housing, to be very honest. And I do predict that they will, they're, I have no idea what are the placements or charts. I have no idea anything about that. But I'm feeling that something around that. You just need to build up the psychic protection, to build up the jurisdiction protection. Um, and I think that they're also purging some sort of people pleasing there. the attempts to drag them to certain timelines that are not relevant for them. But they're definitely not going to those unrelevant timelines the way I see it. And I think that they're going to take that speech from to something more general. There's a refining process before that. That's what I think is happening. Now, here is the question. What preceded what? And I think there's going to be a female figure in the chart of Nederland. There was an episode I didn't broadcast eventually. And it's going to be a female figure from the parliament, actually, from the previous parliament. But this is going to be around the Uranus ingressing to Taurus and back, while Saturn Neptune is Saturn Neptuning. Which is not the only one, though. I feel that. And I don't have a chart for that other figure, so I don't know how to locate that. But they're associated with those eclipses. They're purging, they're refining, purifying, purging the last remnants of having to people please around what they say. And they're going, I think they're going to the bigger picture. And this is what is going to be refining and purifying that for them. Because they will be speaking, that's for sure. I don't know if they are testifying, because they could be. But then in what court? Okay, and those questions are, they know enough to understand what I'm talking about. But it's up to them. It's important to not do that from, like, not to testify from a people-pleasing place, and not to not testify from a people-pleasing place, and I think that they are refining something there. It's not me, for those who are wondering. Like, I have no idea what went on. In fact, for that particular thing, I authentically have no clue. Like, to me, it was just like, like I say something, people are worried, and I'm like, why are you worried? And I'm like, some people are invested in that. I'm like, okay, I don't know. I'm not I'm not in anybody's business. Black Moon Lilith on the Chiron of Israel. As this thing happens, it's curating wounds around sexual sovereignty, which means that whoever tried to get away with violation of sexual sovereignty might not be getting away. Okay, again, I talked about it. There was a megalithic energy reading before this one. Okay, transmutation, okay, just that pretty much tells that bigger story. More things to do with that. So this is okay. You need heaven, Mercury hour. Oh, yeah. Not gonna delineate every single dot in this thing. Let's see if there is any big news other than the big news. Okay, I will have to read you. I will have to translate this. After receiving answers from Hamas, uh, Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister, was doing an emergency consultation without Smotrich and Ben-Gvir. Remember that energy reading when I said that those that are disincluded from the conversation contain an important point that cannot be ignored? I repeat that about Smotrich and Ben-Gvir. Now, those people are, in Netherlands, what Dick Schoof had a move, okay? Okay, I can talk about Wilders. Anyway, Wilders pulled a move to make the government fall apart. And he was not pulling a move. It was just like that was prepared, and he was just standing up to his word, and that was falling the entire government. The entire government was falling apart. Dick Schoof, Geert Wilders, that's that loving Israel guy. Um, what do you want me to say? Minder Marokkaner guy, Black Peace Matter guy, that Israel loving person, and, and Dick Schoof, that was the prime minister back then. He was not a caretaking prime minister. People that had extra authorities that people. Oh my God! A moment of silence for caretaker prime minister that had extra authorities prior to the 7th of October. During the 7th of October. Anyway, Dick Schoof decided to agree with declaring Smotrich and Ben-Gvir persona non grata in the Netherlands. Now, there was something leading to that, and you didn't just pick these two people up out of nowhere. However, what's my intuition telling me? That these two people know something about this supposed peace agreement. I'm not saying it's going to explode the whole deal, but it's going to be necessary to understand something about Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, what they say, what they know, whatever, to really bring things into closure. Now, I have no idea what those things are. Sushi? Anyone? I don't even have sushi. Anyway. Mm, 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 mm. Yeah. Oh, so that means, was I posting the previous episode? Yes, I was. I think so. So I think that Ben-Gvir Smotrich thing is going to be yes, and this one. Let's see if there is another one. No, this is the one I posted, no? Or this is the new one? Wait a sec. That was 07. there's a new one. Not this one. Ah! Anyway, I think that those two, for the Ben-Gvir and Smotrich folks, are going to be important to something. I have no idea what that something is, but this is um, it is a supposed declaration. I mean, yes, I know that it's kind of like a ceasefire. Let's see more things around that. Okay, not news. But that's the thing. I said something that I see people trying to, with the best of intentions, create the most fair solution. And then they want to disinclude certain people that would be like an explosion to the discourse. But those two people are containing something that is essential to the discourse. And then I see this. Like, it's obviously understandable that they want Ben-Gvir and Smotrich not doing their deed. But they carry important information, and I don't know what information. No, somebody's being pissed, and I know that if I'm going to address that, it's going to be a jab, which I'm going to find funny, but somebody's not in the mood, and that's just okay. So, my utmost best attempts to be a considerating person. Um, mm, 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 mm. And I was receiving a ripping off the band-aid. Now, that's something I received before 7th October. And if you think about the band-aid, in Hebrew is plaster. It's basically, there's also Gaza. And um, how should I say that? I just smell tagetes. I'm smelling from tagetes. This is what I have to say. It's procyon. But this is like really bringing up procyon as well. Like, it's not accentuated, we're just like bringing up the procyon to tackle this thing. Anyway. Yeah, I think that that's what I have to say right now. Like, I don't know more. I don't know what is that Ben-Gvir and Smotrich have to say, but it's exactly the situation that I was describing on a mundane level. Actually, I wasn't seeing that one coming. Um, yeah. Okay.